How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Many Interpretations of, where this time we're taking a look at the very cool theropod dinosaur known as Cryolophosaurus. Cryolophosaurus lived in the early Jurassic in what is now Antarctica. Or typically when people think of dinosaurs, they won't typically think of a place like Antarctica, but it did indeed live there. It is important to note that, of course, this environment wasn't like how it is now. It was certainly a lot more lush and relatively warm compared to how it is today. But at the same time, it still was relatively cold compared to the rest of the world in the early Jurassic. And in the winters, it would reach temperatures that were below freezing. There's not too many depictions of it in media, but the ones that we do have, I think, are really cool, and I think it's going to be a really fun video to get into. So we'll go ahead and start off strong with Dinosaur King. I think it looks really good here. It's got the whole shape pretty much correct. I think the skull looks really awesome. Of course, in true Dinosaur King fashion, it is shrink wrapped, but the colors are really what strike the most for me. I think that these look really awesome. You got silvers mixed in with blues. The crest also stands out. Another thing, this fella did have a crest. And it was kind of like a different type of crest. A lot of times when we see crests on dinosaurs, they're kind of going this direction, like front to back. Whereas with Cryolophosaurus, it went side to side, like that. It kind of grew up and started to curve as it grew. It's also worth mentioning that this was a pretty weak crest. Like, it wasn't too strong overall. So, of course, most likely it was primarily used as a display structure for members of the same species, or maybe to try to scare off anything that might be trying to hurt it, or, something like that. But you know me, I love crests. I think they look really cool, so I'm excited to see what kind of crests we see here. It's gonna be fun. Next on our list is Dinosaur Train. This is a singing and dancing Cryolophosaurus, singing like Elvis.
It's made of bone, I call it my own. Cryolophosaurus crest.
And this is the perfect spot to bring up the fact that Cryolophosaurus has the nickname of Elvisaurus, because that crest is kind of similar to the way that Elvis's hair looked. So it's just a really fun nickname. So it sings extremely similar to Elvis. I think that's a really fun thing to showcase. And the crest is designed in such a way to where it's even more reminiscent of how Elvis's hair looked. So that's neat. There's also a female version, which is a little bit more red in comparison to the Elvis version, the male version, who has more of a blue coloration. The overall shape, it looks pretty good. It matches up to Cryolophosaurus pretty decently, especially in this sort of stylized way. And again, it's just, this one really kind of goes all in on the Elvisaurus thing, which I just think is really fun. Then we have Dinosaur Revolution. So I have a little bit to say about this one. First of all, I think that they look really cool. I like the variation between the individuals throughout their appearances, particularly with this episode where we get the smaller male with a blue crest, which I think looks just awesome. There's the female with slightly duller colors compared to the male. And then with the larger male who has a larger crest, and it uses it in a way that it's just like an intimidation display. It also kind of flushes, I think the word is, to where like it makes its colors a lot more bright around the head, which I think was really fun. Only things are that I mostly want to point out is how shrink wrapped they are, which means that basically just means that the skin is essentially just wrapped around the skeleton. Like, you don't really have any muscles or anything like that. So these guys are incredibly starving, of course. And there is a point where the larger male does a kangaroo kick on the smaller male. So I don't think something like that is really in the realm of possibility for Cryolophosaurus or many other dinosaurs. I know that there is like some talks of it being possibly possible in Pachycephalosaurus, but that is in the earliest stages of talks, so we don't really know much about that right now. There's really not a lot of research that was dedicated to that. So kangaroo kicks? Probably not. But look at this! That's leaping Laylaps. I love that. I love that they did that. Little fun fact, Laylaps here, which are these two dinosaurs that are attacking each other, those are actually Dryptosaurus. And that's not even the first time that Dryptosaurus showed up in paleoart. There's also this thing right here. That's a Dryptosaurus. Let's get back to Cryolophosaurus. After that, we have Dinosaurs of Antarctica. I have such a hard time saying Antarctica. I'm a pretty big fan of this one, and that's mainly because of the blue around the animal's eye in contrast with the rest of the color. The crest seems a bit small. Of course, the crest would have been layered in keratin when the animal was alive, so it would appear a little bit larger than the bony core, and it's also completely covered in feathers. Now, feathers are not something that have been found with Cryolophosaurus, but I absolutely would not be surprised if Cryolophosaurus did possess these. In fact, I really wouldn't be surprised if most dinosaurs possessed feathers, but with Cryolophosaurus, of course, as I said, it did live in an environment that was relatively cool. Not all the time. It was decently warm for most of the time. And Cryolophosaurus was a decently large theropod dinosaur, so maybe it wouldn't have too many thick feathering, maybe some sparse feathers or something like that. But I still feel that it would get some benefit out of having feathers. It just really wouldn't surprise me. We'll just continue. In terms of the Jurassic franchise, we only have it in a few different video games. Starting off with Warpath Jurassic Park, it has a very thick build in this game. Not nearly as slender as it's portrayed in most other things, and I think it's a little bit more slender, not shrink-wrapped or anything like that, but probably not bulky like this. Like, this is really like reminiscent of something like an Allosaurus or something. But the colors and some of the alternative skins that you get with this guy, I think look really cool. And yeah, I think that it's a fun addition for a dinosaur fighting game. And then in Jurassic World Evolution 2, I'm a huge fan of this one. I think that Frontier does a really good job on the majority of their own dinosaurs, like the ones that didn't appear in the movies and shows. And Cryolophosaurus, I think, is a great example of that. It has a really good shape. The crest is really prominent on the animal, and it has the correct facing arms, as in they're not breaking their wrists. The body is pretty slender, and it's portrayed as being pretty large, and a lot of the colors that you can give this animal are really cool in the game. So I think this one really knocks it out of the park. It looks like it was in Primal Ops, and this one's a fun one. Those colors are very interesting, and just look how huge that crest is, especially with the red coloration in contrast to the dull body. It's stylized in a really fun way and kind of like goes all in with the layers of keratin. I mean, who knows how huge that crest truly got, so it's a very fun speculative addition. Or in Jurassic World Alive, where we get another red coloration. I like how it kind of builds into the animal's snout and it extends up from there. And again, just that in contrast with the colors, I think looks awesome. So for the most part, the Jurassic franchise did an awesome job. Then we have Primal Carnage. So you do get the one that is a lot more slender and is kind of, in pairing with the Dilophosaurus, which I think these guys are pretty similar, Dilophosaurus and Cryolophosaurus. They just have different facing crests, I guess. Similar skeletally, I guess. But I think they look really cool. The colors, I think, are really fun to see. And I know that there was one that was a lot bigger and a lot more bulky, and I think it looks awesome, really gnarly with those teeth. And I like this kind of pouch that it has in its throat. These spikes going down the back and this massive crest. All across the board, I think these guys are awesome. Path of Titans recently just got a Cryolophosaurus mod done by Crimson Isle. Looks awesome across the board. The different models look really cool. There's one there's a lipped version. There's a lipless version. The crests, I think, look really good. The animations are solid, and I'm a big fan of the sounds too. I've said it many times, but I really like how high quality most of these mods are in Path of Titans. Like, they feel like they're actually a part of the game, especially when you're playing them. And this Cryolophosaurus one, even though I haven't had the opportunity to play it too much, only a little bit, I like it. I think it really is awesome and a very fun addition to the game. Then in Fossil Fighters, our very fun stylized little buddy right here. Some cool mix of blues and purples with the whites. Very stubby face, very, very, very stubby in general. I like how you can tell that it has the crest, but I also like how stylized that is. It kind of makes almost like a star shape with the rest of the animal's head. Very fun, it's just another really fun design. Ark Survival Evolved also has a mod for Cryolophosaurus, and man, this one looks so cool. Look how awesome this looks. I like the contrast with the crest and the rest of the body. I like how the feathers are used on it, and the whole shape of it, I think, looks really cool, especially with that head shape. This is a very good one, and in terms of Ark designs, I think that this one is probably one of my favorites. Like, I saw this, and I was just like, son of a gun. That is cool. And that is what we have. Those are the interpretations of Cryolophosaurus. Unless I did miss something. Of course, if I did miss something, be sure to let us know in the comments and let everybody else know any other awesome additions of this awesome animal. So this was probably a shorter episode. Next week might be longer because I think a lot of the animal requests that I've gotten are decently long in their interpretation length. So probably expect to see a longer video next time. Of course, the poll will be going up tomorrow, the day after this video goes up. So be sure to look out for that and vote for whichever one you want to see next. But in the meantime, be sure to like this video and subscribe. That does, of course, help tremendously. And thank you everybody for watching, and have an awesome day.